B'Shem Hashem Naaseh v'Natzliach, Shiur Torah, great to be in Miami again. B'ezrat Hashem, this shiur will also go to Refuah Shlema, to Michel Cotto, Amparo Balufe, Lourdes Garcia, Lourdes Renzoli, Edilma Guerrero, Isabel Perez, Josefina Matos, Marcela Matut, Reuven Pablos, Guillermo Pablos, Jose Antonio Avila, Guillermo Solano, Guillermo Suarez, David Ben Nesria, and Doris Bajora, and Levana Batzara. B'ezrat Hashem, they have a refuah shlema, refuat nefesh, refuat guf. We had a very good shiur last night about different parts of the Torah. Our foundation was Parashat Chukat. But as I always tell everyone, regardless of what I prepare for the lecture, as soon as I arrive at a lecture, Hashem does something completely different. Where sometimes I'll prepare for a lecture, and it has the recorder. Sometimes I prepare for a lecture, and what I prepared, parts of it actually come out of the lecture. But sometimes I prepare for a lecture, and as soon as I start talking, it's something completely different to what I prepared. I used to write myself a few little notes, maybe 15 different points of what I'm going to talk about. And then at the end of the lecture, after everybody leaves, I go over, okay, so what did I say? And I start crossing them off. I have 15 things, and at the end I see I only crossed off 2 things. I spoke for 2 hours, but only 2 out of 15 things. Because Hashem, when you're doing Kiruv and it comes from the heart, Hashem is going to give you words of what to say, because it's specific to the people that are listening. So last night, we talked about, and I highly recommend anyone to watch the shiur. We talked about the benefit of doing Kiruv, on one end, the responsibility somebody has when they do Kiruv, when they're trying to help people do Teshuva, but also a reminder for anyone that's not involved in Kiruv, a reminder for anyone that donates money on a regular basis, but they see that, they donate $100,000 a year, $10,000 a year, it doesn't matter what the amount is, but they see at the end of the year, no money went to save Jewish souls. This is actually a message from Hashem. This is a message from heaven, reminding you that you don't have the merit to do Kiruv. Meaning that you actually have to have a merit to do Kiruv. You have to have a merit to try to save Jewish souls. And the reason why is because Hashem rewards those that do Kiruv, whether it's giving CDs out, or publishing things on the internet, organizing shurim like this, all of these things that help Jewish souls, help people actually get back to Hashem, there's such a huge reward for it that Hashem is not willing to give it to just anyone. Meaning you actually have to have a special merit to deserve the opportunity to do a mitzvah. So we talked about that, but then we also talked about the beginning of this parasha, Parashat Chukat, which means this is the decree. Now, the beginning of the parasha, we're not going to cover it too much because we're going to go over into the things that we didn't cover last night. The beginning of the parasha, we have ourselves a very, very big question. Where last week's parasha, we had Parashat Korach that had the Ruach HaKodesh. He had a not quite prophecy, or actually had prophecy, but even something that, aside from prophecy, a heavenly voice would let him know different types of information. He was very, very righteous. He knew a lot of Torah. He was very, very wealthy. But then we find out from the Torah that one major mistake led him and his family and anyone that followed him to Gehenom forever. And then this parasha is connected to Parashat Korach. It's connected to Parashat Chukat, which the beginning of the parasha talks about an unusual mitzvah of the red cow, the red heifer. So a few things we didn't mention last night about the red cow. We know that the red cow is, for the whole purpose of the red cow is to purify the nation. Anyone that became impure will be able to become pure after they go through the process of the red cow by slaughtering the cow and then burning it, and then the ashes are used with a few other ingredients, and that's how they purify the nation. But even Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest man of all time, said, I don't understand this mitzvah. It's beyond me. Why beyond me? Because if you look at just the whole story of the red cow, it's strange from the beginning. First and foremost, the red cow has to be perfectly red, meaning it cannot even have two hairs that are not red. A red cow, how many hairs did a red cow have? 50 million, 100 million, anyone count? Did you count? Somebody should count. But it has, so if you have, okay, so listen, you have two hairs, you find a red cow and everything is red except two hairs. There's millions of hairs, not even 1% is not red. You have two black hairs and millions of hairs that are red. What's the big deal?
And there is it's a statistic, no? But it's like around 1 million red cows so far nowadays, right?
No, red cows, no. There's only been 9 in history. 9 total since the beginning of creation.
Rabbinic people, they
right, and now there's 2 more. Right now. Right now there's 2. But the thing is though, is that if somebody, let's say for example, takes out, let's say they have a perfectly red cow except 2 hairs, why don't they just color the hairs red?
Yeah.
Or take a tweezer, you know, like the women do with the eyebrows. They take a tweezer, they take the hair. Who's going to notice? What's the big deal? Hashem says this makes the cow tameh, makes it impure. Now, the Goyim used the red cow as an opportunity to make fun of the Jews. He said, look at your Torah. It has this weird mitzvah. You have this red cow. How would you know even if you had a red cow, and let's say there was 2 hairs, and I took it out, how would you know? Said Hashem told us that we would know. He gave us signs. So it was all throughout creation until recently, there was only 9 red cows. And one time there was actually a goy, a non-Jew that had a red cow, that was trying to prove that the Jews are clueless. They don't know anything what they're talking about. So since it was we needed the red cow for the Bet HaMikdash. Without Bet HaMikdash, red cow is useless. So we needed the red cow. He had a red cow, so we were willing to pay a lot of money for it. There wasn't that many in history. So they came to him. They said, how much do you want for it? They agreed to a very, very big price, very expensive price. And he said, okay, we're going to come back tomorrow with the gold that you're asking for. Just make sure that it follows our rules. You never put anything on top of the cow. You never take off any of the hairs. Because if anything changes... So the guy was thinking to himself, look at these Jews. Look at these fools. They think that they know better than me. Let me prove to them that they don't know. I'm going to put a sack of flour on top of the red cow. They're not going to notice. And then I'm going to take it off. They're not going to notice. How would they know? If you put something, if somebody sits on a cow and then gets off the cow, anybody going to know? Nobody's going to know. So that's what he did. He put a sack on the cow the whole night. But before they left, before they came, he took it off. There's no sign, there's no dent or anything. But as soon as they got there, they said, before you take the money, they put the money on the table. Before you take the money, let us check the cow again. They checked the cow. They start walking away, very disappointed. They take the money, and they said, next time you try to fool someone, fool your mother. That's what they tell him. This is in the Gemara.
Wow.
He says, what do you mean? How do you know? He goes, and they said, listen, Hashem gave us signs. And we know that you put something on her back. You put something on her back. So the Gemara explains, what are these signs? When someone puts something on the specifically on the red cow, not on a regular cow. Regular cow, nothing happens. But in a red cow, if somebody ever puts anything on her back, then her eyes become cross eyes. You know, instead of looking straight, they start crossing. Her eyes change. Or for example, if what about the hair, the red hair? What if, let's say, for example, you have, all this hair? How are you going to find these 2 hairs? They say it's the only 2 hairs on the cow that you're going to find. If there's, let's say, 2 hairs that are black or a different color, that they're going to fall over, meaning they're going to bend over. Everything else is going to be straight. So you have to know where to look. So these rules and signs of the red cow are extraordinary. But the one thing I actually realized today, I heard from Rabbi Nissim again, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, also one of the best signs of the red cow is, and who provides everything in the world, is the fact that for over 2,000 years, we haven't had a red cow. When 2,000 years ago, we had red cows because we had need for them. We had a Bet HaMikdash, the first one, the second one. When we needed them, we had a red cow. During the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, we had a red cow. If we needed it, we got it. But as soon as the Bet HaMikdash was destroyed, 2,000 years, no one has ever seen a red cow. 2,000 years. It's a lot of cows in the world. Millions and millions of cows in the world. Not one time has anyone seen a red cow. When is the first time that they see a red cow in history? In the last 2,000 years? No, in the last couple of years. The last couple of years we had 2 red cows born. One of them was born, I believe, in New Jersey. Another one in a different place in America. The one from New Jersey was recently transferred to Israel, to Jerusalem. But this is one of the greatest signs that not only is Hashem the only one that decides who lives and who dies and what comes to the world and what doesn't come to the world. He decides everything. If there's going to be a red cow, Hashem decides. If there's not going to be a red cow, Hashem also decides that. But it also is one of the best proofs, in my opinion, that no one can deny that we are in the end of times. Because why would Hashem give us not 1 but 2 red cows if the Mashiach is not around the corner? If the Mashiach is not around the corner, then we're not going to have a Bet HaMikdash. Without a Bet HaMikdash, the red cow is useless. Now for 2,000 years we didn't have a Bet HaMikdash, so Hashem didn't give us a red cow. So if He's giving us a red cow, it's logical that He's going to give us a Bet HaMikdash soon also. But a Bet HaMikdash only comes with the Mashiach. So this is again one of the most important things that people need to understand, and that's why things in the world are happening with it seems like everything is fast forwarded. Everything is happening very fast. Things are changing much faster. People are noticing things or ignoring things faster. They're making decisions faster. But this red cow and this mitzvah is unusual in a sense that in the beginning of the parasha it says Zot Chukat at-Torah. This is the decree of the Torah. And then it starts talking about the red cow. So if it was talking, if things were based on a rationale, they were based on our own logic, instead of saying this is the decree of the Torah, it should say this is the decree of the red cow. Or this is the decree of purification, because the red cow is purifying. Or this is the laws of impurity. But it's saying this is the decree of the Torah. It's not saying this is the why the Torah. Chazal explains that this mitzvah is like the entire Torah. The one mitzvah we don't understand is a representation of the entire Torah. And why is it a representation of the entire Torah? Because it's telling you this is how you have to treat the Torah. The fact that we don't understand it and will never understand the mitzvah of the Torah of the red cow until the Mashiach comes. We're not going to understand it. But despite the fact that we don't understand, we still have to do. And this is how we have to treat the entire Torah. Because if we do things even without understanding, then it shows that we're doing it for the right reason. We're doing it because Hashem said so. Why do you say a prayer at the end when you leave the bathroom? Hashem said so. Why do you keep Shabbat? Hashem said so. That's really the real reason of all of the mitzvot. It's the only reason you ever need. Sometimes Hashem, and most of the time Hashem, gives us something called a tam, a little taste of benefits of the mitzvah. Rewards that you're going to get for this mitzvah. But you should never do a mitzvah because of the benefit. In the Gemara Masechet Ta'anit, it says that you should never do a mitzvah purely based on benefit. Yes, part of the reason could be the benefit, but in reality, The main reason to do a mitzvah is because Hashem said so. So much so that the Rambam writes in his book that the Chasdei Umot HaOlam, the non-Jews of the world, the righteous non-Jews of the world, if they keep the 7 laws of Noach, they have a share of the world to come. As long as they're keeping the 7 laws of Noach because Hashem said so, because it's written in the Torah. But if they keep those 7 laws of Noach just because it makes sense to them, or just because they feel like it, or just because, listen, do not murder is very logical. Why should we murder? They're all common sense. The 7 laws of Noach are all common sense. Don't steal. Of course, you shouldn't steal. You shouldn't murder. You shouldn't eat living animals. This is all logical. If they happen to keep those 7 laws, but just because it makes sense to them, or because they agree with them, or anything based on their own rationale, he says not only do they not have a share of the world to come, but they're not even considered the righteous people of the Gentile nations. They're considered the stupid people of the Gentile nations. Why? Because they're doing a mitzvah, they're doing something, but they're not doing it for the right reason. They're not, they're not getting any benefit for it. If you're already going to do it for the right reason. And the right reason, what the Parashat Shavua is telling us, is because Hashem said so. Whether you understand it or not is irrelevant. Of course, you should try to understand as much as possible, because in our lowly generation, we need to try to understand the meaning behind everything, because it's very, very hard for us, especially in the beginning when we first start doing tshuva, when we first convert, when we first connect to Hashem. It's very, very hard for us to make such drastic changes in our life without knowing the reason why. Sometimes the reason needs to be because I don't want to be punished. Sometimes the reason should be because there's going to be a big reward, either in this world or the next world, and so on. And Hashem gave us plenty of mitzvot. Most of the mitzvot we have in the Torah, we have those reasons. We have those tastes. But in reality, once you're in it, once you understand what Torah is, the really only reason of keeping anything is Hashem said so. That's the real reason.
So the 613 mitzvot. So, there's a percentage of them that don't apply to all. So how are we going to be treated pertaining this 613, for example, those that don't belong to, because there is no Bet HaMikdash.
Right, no one can actually, even if there was a Bet HaMikdash, and Be'ezrat Hashem there will be soon, no one person can do 613 mitzvot, because some of the mitzvot are just for women.
For women, right.
Some of the mitzvot are just for men.
Right.
Some of the mitzvot are just for kohanim. Some of the mitzvot are just for someone that has tzarat. Not everyone has tzarat. Not everyone sees somebody that has tzarat. So the mitzvot cannot apply to one person anyway.
Right.
So if, let's say for example, there's a mitzvah of a Kohen out of the 613.
Right.
I can't do it. I'm not a Kohen. So I'm not going to be punished for not doing it. I'm considered anus. What's anus? I'm not able to do it because it doesn't apply to me. Same concept with the Bet HaMikdash right now. We cannot, as a generation, we're considered anusim because we don't have a Bet HaMikdash. We have no ability to make this mitzvah. So you are obligated to do all the things that you can do.
And that percentage, there is a percentage?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably around maybe 200 or so mitzvot out of the 600 that you can do.
Okay.
Approximately 200. There is a book by the Chafetz Chaim. It's a small book that talks about the 613 Tarigat mitzvot. It's the 613 mitzvot of Judaism with like a short 1 or 2 lines explaining what each mitzvah is. It's one of the books we're recommending in the new book we're writing, the conversion guide. It's a very good book, just describes each mitzvah, even though for conversion you're not necessarily, no one's going to ask you if you remember 613 mitzvot. It's good to know what they are. It's definitely good what they are, and this book is very good because it explains it in very simple details of what each mitzvah is in short. Each mitzvah you can write 50,000 books about. One mitzvah, you could write 50,000 books and you still didn't cover everything. But you need a basic description, 1-2 lines about each mitzvah. This is a very, very good book to read. But in general, as far as the red cow or the Bet HaMikdash or any of those things that we can't do, we're not being punished for it, because in general, Hashem doesn't work like the business world. In the business world, if you go to work, you get paid. If you don't go to work, you don't get paid. At the same token, sometimes you go to work, you work really, really hard, but you fail. You don't succeed. The deal doesn't work out. So, for example, you're trying to sell a piece of real estate. You want to sell a building. You work on a deal for a year, trying to sell a building, and you do everything you possibly can. You work day and night. It's the only project you have. But after a year, you didn't sell it. And then the seller says, you know what? I'm going to try something else. And he sells it on his own somewhere else a day later. Now, you worked really, really hard. But what payment did you get? Nothing. You got nothing. Why? Because you didn't succeed. Hashem doesn't work like that, Baruch Hashem. Hashem doesn't pay us for our success. He pays us for our effort. If you truly are genuine with your effort and you try very hard, Hashem rewards you for your effort. And this is also connected to this Parashat Chukat, because even the way Hashem rewards us is not understandable to us. In reality, the entire Torah is not completely understandable to us. We just know what we know, but the Torah is wider than the ocean. But the point here is that it's very, very important for us to know is that sometimes we're going to try something. We're going to try to do a mitzvah. A woman's going to start becoming modest. Or a guy's going to start laying tefillin. Or he's going to start watching his brit. Or all types of things. And then he's going to have a yetzirah one day and he's going to fail. One day he forgot to do tefillin. One day, he didn't feel like keeping Shabbat. Ate non-kosher. And then making a sin is not good. But we all make sins. Doesn't make that it's good. We all make sins though. The worst part of the sin is not the sin itself. The worst part of the sin is what happened after the sin. Because sometimes we make a sin and we say, hey, you know what? I already ate a non-kosher burger. You know what? Give me a chicken too. You order something else. I said, I'm already breaking it. Let me break the whole thing. Someone forgot that it was Shabbat. They woke up in the morning. They forgot it was Shabbat. They turned on the television. And they realize, oh wait, it's Shabbat. You know what? I violated Shabbat. Okay, you know what? Let's go drive to the mall. So the Mishnah calls it mitzvah goreret mitzvah ve'avera goreret avera. One mitzvah pulls on another mitzvah or leads to another mitzvah, and one avera, one sin, causes another sin. And one of the reasons the Gemara explains why this happens is because each time someone makes a mitzvah, they create an angel. They literally create an angel. There's an angel that's next to them permanently. And one day they're going to go to Olam Haba. They're going to go to the Bet Din of Shamayim. And they're going to need to have witnesses because there's a trial. There's a 1-year trial. Each one of these mitzvot is going to be their defendant. And say, hey, listen, Olga made this mitzvah. Every Wednesday she had a shiur Torah. I'm the angel that was created on the first shiur. I'm the angel that was created on the second shiur. I'm the angel that was created on the third shiur. Every single shiur is 1, 2, 10, 100 mitzvot coming out of every shiur. And then the outcome. Then they start bringing 1 million people that watch this shiur online. They didn't come here. There's 1 million people can't fit here. But the 1 million people watched it online. Oh, we're the 1 million people that watched the shiur that happened in Olga's house. All these angels are created. But the same goes for sins. Every time somebody makes a sin, they create a bad angel. It's called a demon. Now what happens with these angels? In essence, what they really are is they really are next to you. They're next to you all the time. And Chazal says if someone was actually able to see the truth, like see what's really next to them, what's really in this world, they would go crazy immediately. There was actually one sage in the Gemara, they tell you how to do it. By taking the stomach of a cat, burning it into ashes and putting the ashes on the eyes. Don't try this at home. But some sage actually tried it. And he saw, and he started going crazy. And until the other major sages prayed to Hashem to remove this power from him, because it was torturing him, he was losing his mind. He wanted to die. But nonetheless, every single time we have a mitzvah, we have an angel. Every time we have an avirah, we have an angel. So why does this cause to either more mitzvot or more sins? Because each time we create an angel, it gives more power to the angels we already have. Now they're stronger. There's one more positive than there is negative now. So they have more power. It's when you have, let's say, 3 guys on the team, 3 good players. Now you have a fourth, and then it's 3 against 3. But now you have another guy. You add another guy. Now it's 4 against 3. Obviously 4 against 3. Even if they're not as good of players, they're still probably going to beat them. Why? Because there's more of them. But the same thing goes for the bad ones. If we have 4 sins versus 3 mitzvot, become more powerful, which means they influence you. The more powerful side will influence you. Will either influence you to make another sin or influence you to make another mitzvah. And that's one of the things that if we actually check ourselves, if we look ourselves in the mirror, we see every time we ever fell in life, every time we ever made a lot of sins in life, it's usually a consecutive, one after another. One after another, one after another, after another, until eventually somebody wakes up. And there's, you know what, I got to stop this. Same thing with mitzvot. All of a sudden somebody woke up in the morning, they want to make call, listen, I'm going to do a shiur Torah. Then you know what, let me make another call, I'm going to donate some money for the CDs. Then you know what, I'm going to make another call, I'm going to help this guy out at work, I'm going to try to find him a job. Next thing you know, they're on a roll, they want to help people. One mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. So this is one of the things that is, it's a way for us to understand. It's a way for us to understand how how Hashem works, how His world works. But at the same token, the whole concept of tshuva and the whole concept of purification is not logical. Because tshuva is 100% mercy from Hashem. It's not mercy from us, it's mercy from Hashem. And the reason why is because, let's say for example, somebody says, listen, they go to a regular judge after they get caught for stealing $100 million. They say, listen, Your Honor, I'm really sorry I stole the $100 million. I won't do it again. Please let me go. Judge says, okay, so at the very least, you should have started the sentence with, I'm going to give back the $100 million. And please let me go. Not, I'm sorry. Your sorry is worthless. Give back the $100 million. No, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I spent it already. You spent it? Okay, go to jail for the rest of your life. That's reality. But we go to Hashem after we made all the sins, after we benefited from all these sins, or at least we think we benefit from all these sins. And we say to Hashem, Hashem, we stole $100 million, we made 100 million sins, please forgive us. And we can't give it back. And what does Hashem do? He says, you know what? Because you're admitting what you did was wrong, because you're coming back to me, my son or my daughter, not only am I going to let you keep the $100 million that you stole, I'm going to give you another $100 million. That system is completely not logical. But that's the mercy of Hashem. So just like sometimes we can't understand why Hashem wants us to do a specific mitzvah, we also don't understand why Hashem even gives us an opportunity to live after all the things that we do. So if we want the benefit of having the ability to do mitzvah, having the ability to do tshuva, having the ability to get back to Hashem and have a better life, a better eternity, then we also have to treat His Torah the same way. The way He treats us is not logical, but we still want it. We still want the benefit. We still want the extra $100 million. We would be happy if He just let us go with the first $100 million we stole. He's giving us an extra $100 million. It's not logical, but we want it. If you're already giving it, give me 2. If you're already going to give it for free. Sometimes, I give the books out. And each book is expensive. They're about $50. The book is $50, the science book. And the CDs, each CD costs $1. It's not cheap. But the point is, you give it so people can learn Torah. But sometimes people forget this stuff costs money. So, when they come to a shiur, I bring it to a shiur, and, I give the book out. Oh, yes, yeah, you don't have this book. I give them the book. I don't charge money for it. Anyone that wants to donate, by all means, donate. But the key is to deliver the Torah. Sometimes people forget that this stuff actually costs money. So I say, oh, you know what? Can you give me like 2 or 3 so I can maybe give it to what is this, a grocery store? Okay. People forget. Sometimes they forget. Be skinny. They don't know. They forget. They forget.
That's a good idea.
They forget. So it's the same thing I hear sometimes when people say, I don't have much of a personal life. Any personal life I have is with my wife and my kid, and that's it. I don't really do much other than learn Torah or teach. It's a very, very busy schedule, very tight schedule, 20-hour days every day. Doesn't end. The shiur is just the beginning. That's what most people don't understand about Kiruv. The shiur is just the beginning of the job. The outcome is where the job really begins. Because once people watch the shiur, they start asking questions. Because they start looking at their life, they say, oh, the shiur says I have to keep Shabbat. Okay, Kvod Harav, how do I keep Shabbat? How do I do this? Or they have other problems. I have shlom bayit issues. I have problems with money, problems with health. They start asking questions. Hundreds and hundreds of questions every day. Either text or phone calls or emails. And then you have to publicize the shiurs. And then you have to work with technology, and you have to all these different things. It's a lot of work. It's a much, much more work than running a $20 million company that I used to run. But it's funny to me that sometimes people say to me, I say, oh yeah, I don't see you around. I'm like, yeah, very busy. Very, very busy. And I tell them what I just told you. And I said, yeah, but you like it though. This is what they tell me. Yeah, but you like it. You enjoy it, right? To me, it's the silliest thing in the world to say. What do you mean you like it? Yeah, okay, yes, I enjoy learning Torah. I enjoy teaching Torah. But if you actually think that I'm doing this purely because I like it, you have to be losing your mind. To work 20 hours a day, you're doing it because you like it? To live off of pure miracle every month because you like it? Or I have nothing better to do with my life? People don't understand that when you're a Jew, you do what you have to do, not what you like to do. And when I learn Torah and I see that according to Hashem's Torah, millions of people are setting themselves up for fire. Millions of people are setting themselves up for very severe punishment. How could I allow myself to go to sleep or go back to Wall Street and go make money and just take care of my life? As long as I take care of my life, it's okay, good luck to you guys. I probably won't see you because I'm planning on being in Gan Eden, but I guess Genom needs some more friends. Like, how could I go to sleep that way? According to this Torah, people are not keeping it. It's a problem. So how could I go to sleep knowing that if somebody doesn't tell them, they're never going to do it? And no one's told them until this point. So when someone tells me, oh, but you like it, to me it's silly because like you really have no idea what it takes to do this. It's a lot. It's complete mesirut nefesh. It's complete self-sacrifice. The fact that Rabbi Mizrahi has been doing it for 22 years, someone I highly respect. Rabbi Yaron Reuven has been doing it for about 15 years or so, 14 years. These rabbis that complete self-sacrifice for so many years, I'm only doing it for a few years, 2, 3 years. I don't know how they do it for long, because already my head is it's exploding with so much responsibility. So when someone says, "Oh, but you like it, you enjoy it, this is fun for you," it's to me, it's like, "Oh, you're really not getting the point. You don't realize that there's such a need in the world that it doesn't matter anymore what you like. Mashiach is around the corner." I look at people and I start seeing, I'm like, listen, if you don't do tshuva, probably in the next few weeks or few months, you're probably not going to make it. That's the way I look at them. My Rav in Yerushalayim, early on in my tshuva, he told me something I didn't understand until later on. And even today I don't understand completely because he's in a different level. But one time he tells me, he goes, you know, I don't understand men that look at other women because they don't have clothes on. He goes, I don't understand. Why do they look at them? So to me, when he was telling me this, it's an unusual thing to hear. Like, what do you mean, why do they look at them? They look at them and they visualize being with them. That's what I'm thinking to myself. How could he be asking this question? He's a very smart guy. Every question I ever asked him, he knows the answer to. He gives you a source, whether it's science, or it's Torah, or it's business, anything. How could he be asking such a silly, what I'm thinking is a very silly question? And I ask him, I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Why are they looking? And he says to me, what, they don't see the fire? Hashem Rachem, what he sees, I don't know how, who, what, I don't know exactly what he sees. I'm not his eyes. But a woman that's half naked, you know, pretty much the average person in America today, or the world, he sees them on fire. He sees them, that's what they're preparing themselves for with this outfit. So he doesn't understand what's attractive about somebody being on fire because they're going to be in Gehenom if they don't do Tshuva. Because a woman that's not modest, she's causing other people to sin. And when you cause the children of Hashem to sin, there's no one in the world that Hashem hates more than you. Imagine something happens, Shchas v'shalom, next door neighbor hits his neighbor's kid with his car. Runs him over. Every day, you know, he runs him over every day. So for the rest of his life, the neighbors, the rest of his life, he's going to look at this neighbor and say, he's never going to be able to deal with the fact that whether it's accident or not is irrelevant. Whether he meant to do it or didn't mean to do it, whether she meant to make the guy sin with her mini skirt or her short shorts or her tank top. It doesn't matter whether she meant to or not. The fact that she led Hashem's son to go to Gehenom because all he did was think about women that are not modest, and she was part of the reason, this is a problem. Same thing with the father looking at the son. Okay, the neighbor may be a very nice guy, and it was accident that he hit my son with the car. Accident. But I can never look at him again. I'm always going to hate him in my heart because he killed my son. You understand? This is what women don't understand today. It's not that Hashem cares if you wear Versace or Donna Karan. He doesn't care. He cares about his children. He cares about the outcome of his children. And this is what it says in our parasha. This Chukat Torah means, Chukat comes from the word chakuk, which means engraved. This law, this Torah, whether you understand it or not, it never changes. And you have to do it regardless of whether you understand it or not. What we talk about is the ta'amim, the taste, the little bit of understanding that the sages gave us, and we try to rationalize the Torah in order for it to apply to our real life. But in reality, the only reason to do anything is because Hashem said so. But that also means that if you're doing something just because it's convenient for you, not because Hashem said so, the reward is very different. For example, if someone respects our parents or his parents, why? Because it makes common sense to respect older people. They have a lot of money, maybe I want to get the inheritance. Or they gave me a good life, so I want to be nice to them. So I want to be nice to my parents because they were nice to me. That makes sense. That's not a mitzvah. It's not a mitzvah to respect your parents because they're nice to you. It's not a mitzvah to respect your parents because you want to inherit the money. What's the mitzvah? Respect your parents because God said so. It's not a mitzvah to keep Shabbat because you want a vacation. So use Monday for vacation. Use Tuesday. Why Shabbat? It's a mitzvah to keep Shabbat because Hashem said so.
So when you say Yirat Shamayim, it's because Hashem will get angry at you if you don't. So because of your shoes, we've learned that Hashem gets angry for a certain period of time. What is that period of time? Because it's merciful.
It's a fraction of a second. It's called a rega. Rega. It's as long as the Gemara in Brachot, and I believe in also Beitzah, mentions how long is a rega, and they give the exact calculation. If I remember correctly, it's a 15th of a second or something like that. But it's a very, very small amount of time that Hashem reserves for anger. Even though He's beyond time, Hashem doesn't actually have a concept of time. He is no time. He's past, present, future is all the same to Him. The minute He created the world, for Him it already ended. To us, there's time. And the reason why there's time is because we have matter. We have physical. Without physical, without physical, without material, there's no concept of time.
3 dimensions.
Right. But in regards to the will of Hashem and having Yirat Shamayim, is that when we say Hashem is angry, or when we say that Hashem took out Am Yisrael with a strong hand, or anything that gives Hashem some type of image, we're not trying and we're not allowed to give Hashem an image. The reason why we say Hashem is angry, or Hashem is happy, or Hashem took out Am Yisrael with a strong hand, is because we don't understand anything about Hashem and don't have even the ability to understand Hashem. So Hashem allowed us to give Him certain descriptions to give us somewhat of an understanding. Because Hashem doesn't have emotions. Because if He had emotions, if He had love, hate, mad, upset, depressed, then that means that Chas v'shalom, He would not be God. That would mean that His emotions are superior to Him. Someone that has emotions, that means that the emotions control him. Same thing with a strong hand. If Hashem actually had a hand, He would be physical. Like the Christians say, Hashem is not physical. He's not, He doesn't have a body. He doesn't have a likeness of a body. But Hashem Himself wrote it in His Torah, different descriptions that He permits us to use in order for us to get an idea of what it is equivalent to us. Meaning that we know what anger is. Right. So we can understand, okay, Hashem being angry is not good. Hashem being happy is good. We understand good, not good. But if the Torah said Hashem good, Hashem bad, we think it's a kid's book. Right. Oh, here's Fidel, good, good, good. What's good? What does that mean? Right. Good. So we need a description. We need adjectives that have different meanings. So Hashem gave us specific things, specific descriptions that we are allowed to use. And the sages use it to give us somewhat of an understanding of how Hashem works to some extent. But nonetheless, every one of our mitzvot, every one of the mitzvot in the Torah is extremely important. One of them, one of the 613 mitzvot, is Yirat Shamayim, is fear of Hashem. It's not that it's good to have Yirat Shamayim. You're obligated to have Yirat Shamayim. You're obligated to fear Hashem. You're not just supposed to, or it's a good trait to have. Like someone says, oh no, he's a funny guy. It's a good character trait. Great. But you're not obligated to be funny. But you are obligated to have fear of Hashem.
Yeah, but by how we rationalize that thing.
How to fear Hashem?
Yeah, the process of rationalization. Because then if your obligation to say, should I ask questions? Or through studying Torah is... The
more you study Torah, the more you start understanding the will of Hashem.
All right.
The more you understand the will of Hashem,
okay,
the more you start understanding to your capability Him. You can't completely understand Hashem. The Rambam says, if I understood Him, I would be Him. So, but the more we know what He wrote, what He wants, the more we understand what He is. and what He's in control over, the more we realize that He's in control of everything, everything, whether we live, whether we die, whether we're rich, whether we're poor, whether the molecules in our body work, the atoms work, whether the cells work, whether everything, every little piece of us, of our world operates only because Hashem is thinking about it at that moment. Meaning that if Hashem stops thinking about anything, it would immediately cease to exist. Nothing can exist without Hashem willing it to exist at that very moment. So for example, I don't know if you guys heard the short chidush we did last night at 4 o'clock in the morning. Very interesting night. We had a very good shiur. But after the shiur, you know, people make comments on the YouTube videos. So my wife, God bless her, she saw that somebody made a comment on a very popular shiur that we made in New York about wasting seed, giving me death threats. Threatening me, threatening to kill me, threatening to kill my family. And I did a chidush about it. I did a short shiur about it, you know, 15-minute recording about why would somebody ever, first of all, want to kill me? What did I do to them? I don't know the guy. Second thing is, why would anybody get so upset at a lecture? If you don't like it, press off. Press stop, go somewhere else. Go watch your baseball or something. What do you want from my life? You don't like it, go somewhere else. And the third thing is, why would anybody, after not liking me, not liking my shiur, why would you publicize this opinion? Why would you feel the need to publicize your opinion? And not only publicize your opinion, publicize a opinion that can make you go to jail. You can't write, listen, I'm going to kill you and your family on the internet. It's a hate crime, it's a threat, it's disaster. This is complete stupidity. The first and foremost, personally, I don't care for that because I know He's the one, He's the only one that decides who lives and dies. He's the only one that decides who has anything. So someone can talk as much as they want, they could send letters, they could do whatever the hell they want. The reality is, He is the only one that decides. But it's still disturbing. You have a little girl at home, you have a wife. So I know that Hashem will take care of him for me. But still this doesn't answer the question, why would somebody get to this point? And it also has to do with this parasha. The sin of Korach was not that he wasn't righteous. He was righteous. The sin was that he tried to rationalize everything. He tried to make sure that everything makes sense to him. And if as soon as it doesn't make sense to him, he had to go against it. And this is exactly what this wicked person on the internet did. As soon as he didn't like what I was saying, which is not my words, it's God's words. God wrote it in the Torah, I repeated it. I'm a parrot. Nothing more, nothing less. I repeat what's in the Torah. If you don't like it, go to the author. Fight with him. What do you want for my life? He doesn't like it. It's not rational to him. So what does he do? He wants to fight it. And that's what, there's a saying in English, don't shoot the messenger. But for some reason, we always shoot the messenger. And this is the same problem that Korach had. And this is why those two parashot are connected. Korach didn't like what Moses was saying about the fact that Aaron was chosen by God to be the Kohen HaGadol. Korach didn't like that Am Yisrael was punished and that entire generation had to die in a desert. And only their children, their women and children, are going to actually survive to see the land of Israel. He didn't like these things. It didn't make sense to him that Hashem would do such a thing. So what did he do? Tried to kill the messenger. Because it didn't make sense to him. And this is the danger. Chazal tells us the most dangerous thing that someone can do when they're learning Torah and when they're trying to do the will of Hashem is convincing themselves that they have to understand everything. And they're only going to do it if they understand it. This is the wrong way to look at the Torah. Parashat Chukat and the entire mitzvah of the red cow is explaining to you, not only do you not need to understand it, but you have to do it anyway. And in fact, when you do it purely because Hashem said so, and not because you understand it, even if you understand it, but you're still doing it because Hashem said so, that's the true reward. That's the purpose of life. So now moving on into the parasha, the parasha itself has a lot of action in it, a lot going on. During the next section, it starts talking about the purification system, how this red cow process has 3 different people involved. One that slaughters the cow, one that sprinkles the blood, one that spreads the water of the cow to purify the people. It also talks about the whole concept of purification. And in chapter 19, verse 15, it says, "V'kol kli patuach asher en tzamid patir alav tameu." It says, any open vessel that has no cover fastened to it is contaminated. This is talking about, in essence, someone that's died in a house, under a tent or a house, and if anything is in that house, it becomes tameh, it becomes impure also, unless it qualifies not to be tameh. So, for example, it says any vessel that's open becomes contaminated. The Baalei Musar, which means the major rabbis and sages that taught Musar, taught people how to become human beings in accordance to the Torah, said that this particular verse gives us a hint of how to treat our mouth and what Hashem thinks of it. Someone who is like this open vessel that has no cover fastened to it, is contaminated. Meaning, someone that can't control their speech, their what we call sewer mouth, either because they curse too much or they tell people too much information. They hear one of their friends came over to get some advice. She had some issues with her husband. She wanted to get a friendly advice. 2 minutes after she left home crying because she has problems at the house, what does this lady do? She calls the entire neighborhood to let them know, hey, do you know Susan has problems in the house? All of a sudden she publicizes Susan's problems. Who told you to publicize it? Who told you to publicize? Who told you to tell everybody? She came to you because she wanted to give you the information, not because she wanted to publicize it on the internet, that she has shlom bayit issues. Or she hears somebody calls her and says, hey, by the way, I just want to let you know, because you're a close friend of mine, I want to let you know that unfortunately my husband lost his job. Or unfortunately I'm not feeling well. Or something. Or you know what? Good news, I won the lotto. Any news. Somebody calls you, tells you information. And this woman says, oh, okay, great. Thank you very much for letting me know. 2 minutes later, she writes a Facebook post. Look, my friend won the lotto. Look, my friend's husband is unemployed. Who told you? Who asked you to tell people, publicize it? What are you, CNN?
Yeah.
So what does she say? So these people come up to Shamayim and say, hey, you're contaminated. You're impure. No, but Kvod Harav, I was wearing kisui rosh. I was modest. Okay, you were modest, but you were also CNN. You're also publicizing to the world everybody's business. And every woman that you publicize her business. This one you told people that she was sick. This one you told that she has shlom bayit issues. They got hurt because of it. They got embarrassed. This is what happens sometimes. People don't know how to control their speech. They say too much. The holy books say that each person was given a specific amount of words in his lifetime to use. A specific amount of words. specific. Let's say, for example, just for number's sake, each person is given 1 billion words which means someone that likes to talk for no reason. They talk about the mall, they talk about baseball, they talk about diamonds, they talk about their husband, talk about all this shtuyot, all this nonsense that people talk about. What are they doing really? They're killing themselves.
They're wasting their words.
They're wasting their words. The only words you have unlimited usage of is Torah. You could say Torah, no limit. This is the reason why in the Mishnah, Pirkei Avot, Rabbi Elazar says, I've learned from sages my whole life, and I learned that the best midah, the best quality, is being quiet.
Yeah.
Being quiet. Now we also know why. It's another taste of why. I'm saving my life. If I'm not talking Torah, if I'm talking baseball, football, or nonsense, if I'm telling people that my friend's lost his job, or this one is sick, or this one is having shlom bayit issues for no reason, not because I'm looking for help, just to publicize the news, because I want to be like CNBC and CNN, I'm wasting my own life. And I'm, on top of that, making a sin. You lose on both ends. This is what it means. Baalei Musar said, an open vessel that has no cover is contaminated. Meaning it doesn't matter, okay, you have kisui rosh, you have modesty, all those things, it's very good. It's very good. Very good that you keep Shabbat, you keep kosher. But if you can't control your mouth, there's no way you can be righteous. You're contaminated. The foundation is rotten. Foundation is rotten. You're publicizing the news to people. This is why, I don't know, personally I haven't seen it in the Torah, but in my opinion it's very, very hard for a journalist to go to Gan Eden. Because in essence, journalism is not exactly the most kosher job in the world. Because most journalism is steered. There's a lot of opinions that they want you to have, and not necessarily the real news. A lot of news, like for example, if you look at the news, we talked about it a little bit last night. If you look at the newspapers and news that was publicized during World War II, during the Holocaust, you see that in reality, the opinions that were being published were the opinions that the wicked people wanted people to have about the Jews, to justify that they're being murdered. They weren't publicizing the real news. Same thing today. You look at the news by CNN, you look at the news by the New York Times, you look at the news at all these journalists. After you see 2 Palestinians kill 15 Jews, what do they say? Police shoot 2 Palestinians. No mention of the Jews. No mention. They don't even mention them. It's like, what does it look like to an ignorant college kid that goes to UCLA? What does it think? He thinks, see, these wicked Israelis are torturing the Palestinians again. Even if the article itself says what actually happened, that 18-year-old kid is not going to read the article. He reads headlines. It's like text messages. Today, even people that send text, they don't even send complete words. U is just the letter U. No one spells complete words anymore. Everything is codes. I had someone send me a text the other day. TKVVU. I had to ask somebody, what does this mean? I have no idea what this means. TKVVU or TYVVU. I'm looking at it, I'm like, is this a different language? No, but what is this? And I asked somebody, he said, no, it means thank you very, very much. Who knows? What's this code? Just spell the whole word. It's that much effort to text a few extra letters. This is what we've gone to. But that's it. This is the world we live in. You guys see it. You know this too. See, I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I want to be back to the Paraduma again.
Paraduma again? Oh, what?
Yeah, just.
We're not going to understand the Paraduma. We can learn it for the next 50 years. We're still not going to understand it.
Okay. It says that the Paraduma purifies.
Yes.
But it purifies those who prepare it, something like that.
Yes. The ones that prepare it becomes impure, becomes tameh. But the ones that receive the purification from it, they become pure. That's the part that Shlomo HaMelech says, I don't understand how that's possible.
Okay, so, but I'm not Shlomo.
It doesn't, it doesn't make sense. Rationally, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So that's, if the person that's preparing it became pure, and the person that received it became pure, that makes sense.
Right.
If the person that's preparing it stayed neutral, nothing happened to him.
Right.
Whatever he was before is what he stayed as, and the person that got it was pure, that also makes sense. If the person went from being impure, became from pure to being nothing, to just neutral, that also makes sense. The only thing that doesn't make sense is going from pure to impure and impure to pure at the same time. And this is exactly what Hashem is telling you. This is my entire Torah. Whatever you really think you understand, you don't understand. Meaning that you get a little taste of what the Torah says, but it's not the complete Torah. The Torah is wider than the ocean. Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinos, which was one of the rabbis of Rabbi Akiva, said in the Gemara, if all of the ocean was ink, and all of the trees were pens, and all of the land was paper, it still would not be enough to write the Torah that I know. Just Rabbi Eliezer ben Horkinos knows. And what I know is still not even a fraction, not even 1% of the real Torah. That's how much Torah there is. But it also says in Pirkei Avot, a lot of people get upset where they learn Torah, they finish another book, but then they see there's tens and tens of thousands of books that they don't even know exist, let alone the ones that they could learn. So sometimes people get upset that they don't know. But the Torah specifically tells you it's not your obligation to finish it. First of all, it's impossible to finish it. It's impossible to finish it. And second of all, that's not what Hashem commanded you. He didn't command you to finish the Torah. He commanded you to learn Torah. And learning is very different than trying to complete. Why? When you try to complete, then it's like working for the mailroom and trying, the boss says, listen, as soon as there is 5,000 letters in a box, you go home. So what are you going to do? You're not going to look at anything. You're going to become like a little machine. You're going to grab a letter, it doesn't matter what the address is, anything, you're just going to throw everything in. If it goes to the wrong address, that's somebody else's problem. That's what happens when you're trying to finish just to go home. When Hashem says learn, that means that you're going to learn it until you understand it, or as much as you possibly can. This is the reason why many Talmidim Chachamim, they can learn one daf Gemara, one page Gemara for a whole year. One page. One page for a whole year, and they still don't understand the whole thing. Why? Because they want to know in details before everything around it. One page of Gemara. Whereas us, we try to just, let me finish another book so I can feel smarter. But it's, listen, it's good to have a lot of content, but it's also important to know that you're not, you're supposed to learn it and understand it, not just skim through it. After this, Para Aduma, a major event happens, and Miriam, the prophetess, dies. This is a major event, and shortly after that we find out that Aaron HaKohen also dies. So we have the mitzvah we don't understand, we have a prophet, the prophetess, one of the 7 prophetess that are mentioned, women prophets that are mentioned in the Torah, in the Tanakh. Aaron HaKohen, the original Kohen HaGadol, dies, all in the same parasha. And we see that there's certain things that happened after it. In the Gemara it says that Am Yisrael benefited by the miracles, or by the merit of Miriam, Aaron, and Moshe. where they received miracles due to their merit. Miriam, her merit was so great, she was such a holy woman, that for 40 years that we were in the desert, the rock that Hashem told Moshe to hit, originally told him to hit it, poured water and followed Am Yisrael for 40 years. Meaning wherever they went, the rock followed them, and the rock would constantly have a river of water coming out of it and following it. Because Am Yisrael was not like 10 people. According to the Gemara, it was at least 3 square miles. 3 square miles. It's millions of people. That was just the camp size. 3 square miles. And it was a river following them with pure water at all times. Aaron was the clouds. There were 7 clouds that followed Am Yisrael for 40 years. Under their feet, below them, around them, on top of them, and ahead of them. Due to Aaron's merit. The man, heavenly food, Moshe Rabbeinu. This is the Gemara. But now we see that Miriam dies, and immediately the very next verse, it says, "V'tamat sham Miriam, v'tikaver sham, v'lo haya mayim la'eda v'yikalu al Moshe ve'al Aaron." Chapter 20, verse 1. Verse 1. The children of Israel, the whole assembly, arrived at the wilderness of Zin in the first month, and the people settled in Kadesh. Miriam died there, and she was buried there. There was no water for the assembly, and they gathered against Moshe and Aaron. The people quarreled with Moshe and spoke up, saying, "If only we had perished as our brethren perished before Hashem. Why have you brought the congregation of Hashem to the wilderness to die there, we and our animals? And why did you bring us up from Egypt to bring us to this evil place?" So first, we see that as soon as Miriam dies, there's no water. Meaning that the merit of Miriam is gone, because she died. The water stops. But why did Hashem? I mean, obviously Hashem knows that Am Yisrael needs water. He doesn't expect us to live off of nothing. He created us. He knows exactly what we need. So why did He stop the water? Because if you notice, after Aaron dies, later on, it says that the nation cried for 30 days and mourned Aaron for 30 days. The whole nation mourned Aaron. It says the entire nation, which is even more than Moshe Rabbeinu. And the reason why everyone mourned Aaron is because Aaron chased peace. He did everything to make sure that there's peace. If he found out 2 people were fighting, he would go to one, he says, "You know what? Person A is really, really sorry. He wants to say, I'm sorry, but he's embarrassed. He thinks that you're not going to accept his apology." So when person B hears, "Wow, he really wants to say sorry to me? Really? I didn't know he actually was sorry." So automatically they start feeling bad. You know what? Yeah, maybe I just accept his apology. And then Aaron goes to person A. "Oh, person B, I just spoke to him. He says sorry. He's embarrassed in front of you. He's lying, but for a useful purpose. You're allowed to lie for certain things. For shalom, for peace, you're allowed to lie. There are certain types of kosher lies. But nonetheless, he goes to person A, he tells him, "Oh, person B is really sorry." Now by the time they get together and they realize that he didn't say it and he didn't say it, they already made peace. They don't care anymore. And this is what Aaron HaKohen did his whole life. So much so that it says 22,000 couples named their children after Aaron HaKohen. Why? Because those 22,000 couples were supposed to get a divorce. And Aaron HaKohen made Shlom Bayit with 22,000 couples. Free of charge. 22,000 couples were supposed to get divorced. Aaron HaKohen made Shlom Bayit for them. This is why the entire nation mourned Aaron.
And they named the kids Aaron.
They named their kids Aaron. But when Moshe died, it doesn't say the same. And the reason why, the Gemara says, why didn't the entire nation mourn Moshe? Because Moshe was responsible to rebuke them, to tell them the truth. Hashem said, keep Shabbat. Hashem said, all of these things that people don't want to do. He was responsible to rebuke them. He was the prophet. That was the prophet's job. If you look at every prophet, even though Aaron and Miriam were also prophets, but the leading prophets, Moshe Rabbeinu, was the leading rebuker of all time. And the Gemara says that when Moshe died, Hashem was very upset. Why was Hashem upset? He said, who else is going to rebuke my people? Who else is going to tell them what's right and what's wrong? No one else has the guts. Everybody else is scared to tell people what's wrong. What they're supposed to do right, what they're supposed to do wrong. But this also, when you tell people the truth, sometimes it earns you enemies, like this Rasha that wrote a comment about me on the internet. And he's not the first one. There's, Baruch Hashem, plenty of people that spend their time watching my shiurim and making stupid comments about them, or they cut pieces of the shiur and they post it online. They try to mistranslate it, like what I said. Actually, some of the videos they make are pretty good. I say, oh yes, you should publish this. But nonetheless, people that don't want to hear the truth, they can't live with it. Because they know it's true. But they can't live with it. They don't want to do it. So what happens? So they try to convince everyone else that it's not true. By bad-mouthing it. No, because what happens? If something is true, that means I have to do it. If I don't do something that's true, then I'm crazy. But it sounds true, but I don't want to do it. So what happens? So I have to make sure that nobody else does it either. So they don't convince me to do it. So I don't look bad, because if everybody else starts doing it, then I'm the only one that's not fulfilling the truth. Then I look like a fool. So I have to make sure to spend all of my resources to make sure that nobody else does it. So that way no one else can tell me that I'm not doing it. And this is what we call Machtia Rabbi. Someone that causes other people to sin. And there's a special punishment for the people like that. But nonetheless here, going back to Miriam, why did Hashem stop the water? This teaches us that here, unlike Moshe and unlike Aaron, where after they died everyone mourned, it's not written over here that anyone mourned. And that's exactly the reason. Am Yisrael did not mourn for the death of Miriam, because they didn't realize her greatness, how great she was. So Hashem said, oh, you don't want to honor my prophet, my tzadikah Miriam? That's because you don't appreciate her, because you have no idea how much she did for you. Sometimes you have people that do so much for Am Yisrael, but you don't know that they're doing it. You don't know that they're doing it. Like for example, Rabbi Ovadia, we're only finding out, even though obviously there's a lot of stories of things that he did, but in reality, a lot of the stories of what he did we're starting to find out now after he died. People that lived it, that are starting telling stories, hey, by the way, he saved my life, he saved my marriage, he saved this. You're starting to learn it now. Moshe Rabbeinu is so great, but at the same time so humble, that he's more humble than any man, that even all of the description that we have about Moshe Rabbeinu still don't tell us how great he really was. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. But Miriam over here, Am Yisrael did not appreciate her. Moshe got respect. Aaron got respect. Miriam did not get respect, and Hashem said, you don't respect it, now I'm going to show you just a small token of what she did for you. The only reason you had a merit to have water follow you, instead of you having to dig wells and find water, is because of the merit of Miriam. So now, I'm going to stop it. No water. Because you know, okay, she's missing. Before she was missing, there was water. Now that she's missing, there's no water. You don't have to be a genius, you figure it out. This is one of the things that teaches us that when a sage, a tzaddik, or a tzaddikah dies, we have to mourn them. Even to the point of stopping our learning of Torah. Even if someone is learning Torah and a major tzaddik, a Gedol Hador, dies, you have to stop learning Torah and go contribute to the mourning of the tzaddik. Because the tzaddik or the tzaddikah fulfill the Torah. So it's like a walking Sefer Torah. Whereas the book that you're reading, okay, you're learning Torah, but this is a living Torah. Someone that lived their entire life just to fulfill the Torah, to Hashem it's much more significant than the Torah that you're going to learn for the next few hours. You must honor it's the honor of Torah. The honor of Torah is even more significant than limud Torah. But obviously we have to, each one has its place. You can't just honor Torah all day and celebrate, go to celebrations of Torah and never learn. You have to do both, but nonetheless, it's important to know the reason behind it. So now Am Yisrael complains to Moshe, according to Chazal, to such an extent that Aaron and Moshe ran away. Aaron and Moshe ran away because they felt that Am Yisrael was going to kill them. They ran away. But then Am Yisrael describes this area that they're in a very unique way. It says this is not a place of seed or fig or grape or pomegranate, and there's no water to drink. I had a chidush about a year ago, maybe a year or 2 years ago, that in a Gemara, in the Gemara, it says there are few opinions of what the tree of knowledge was. The tree of knowledge, the Christians think it was an apple, but that's, thank you. Because I did a bracha on the water, already. So, the tree of knowledge, the Christians think it's an apple for some strange reason, but it's not an apple. But the Gemara gives a choice of what it could be. It could be a fig tree, it could be pomegranate, and could be grape. In here, this is what Am Yisrael is saying. Here, this is not a... This place is an evil place, and it's not a place of a fig or a grape or pomegranate. Meaning that they're saying this place you're taking us to, it doesn't have the tree of knowledge. Meaning it's not Gan Eden. So what are they calling it? They're calling it Gehenom. They call this is like hell. Is really what they're saying here. But now we have another major event following the death of Miriam. The nation complains, and Hashem hears their complaint and says, yes, it's a valid complaint. It's valid, it's 100% valid complaint. Why? Of course, they need water. I created them. I don't expect them to live off of no water. Obviously, they need to survive. So he tells, when we complain for no reason, that shows we have zero emunah, and that shows that we have no connection to Hashem. But when we have a valid reason to complain, Hashem hears those complaints and takes them into account. Obviously, if someone has 100% emunah, they wouldn't even complain about things like that. But nonetheless, not everyone has 100% emunah, and Hashem understands it. So Am Yisrael complains, and unlike the other times that Am Yisrael complained, where Hashem immediately was upset and wanted to destroy them, here we see that Hashem is telling Moshe and Aaron, take the staff, meaning the same staff that was used for many of the miracles, bring all the people behind you and go speak to the Selah. Go speak to the stone. Speak to the stone. And then it says, ויקהילו משה ואהרון את הקהל אל פני הסלע, ויאמר להם, שמעו נא המורים, אמין הסלע הזה נוציא לכם מים? וירם משה את ידו ויח את הסלע, ומטהו פעמיים, ויצאו מים רבים, ותשת העדה ובעירם. This is chapter 20, verse 9. Moses took the staff from before Hashem, and as he had commanded him. Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation before the rock, and he said to them, listen now, O rebels, shall we bring forth water for you from this rock? Then Moses raised his arm and struck the rock with his staff twice. Abundant water came forth, and the assembly and their animals drank. So now Moshe is upset. How do we know? Hashem wasn't upset. Hashem said, yes, they want to drink. V'dibartem el hasela, go speak to the rock. He didn't say, listen, they're wicked, this, that. But Moshe added something to what Hashem said. He added his own anger. He says, Shim'u na amorim. He says, listen now, O rebels. He's calling them rebels. Why? Because they were complaining non-stop, and Moshe got angry. And he says, why did he get angry? Because they were complaining non-stop, even though he was trying to show them that, Hashem is merciful and he's going to bring the water. But he said, what? You can't hit any rock? You have to only hit a specific rock? And Hashem specifically told him to hit a specific rock, but the specific rock, he couldn't find it. He couldn't find the rock. It was hidden in plain sight, and he couldn't find the rock. So he tried to speak to a rock and it didn't answer. It was the wrong rock. And the people were heating them up like, oh, come on, no, give us the water. What, are you going to kill us? You're going to kill us. Like they weren't patient. And Moshe lost his patience and said, well, the last time I came here, Hashem told me to hit the rock. This time Hashem told me to take the staff and speak to the rock. But why speak to the rock? Why would he tell me to take my staff if I only need to just speak to the rock? So for a moment he used his logic to do the will of Hashem. And he hit the rock twice, and water came out of the rock even though it was the wrong rock. Hashem still made a miracle. ויאמר אדוני אל משה ואל אהרון, יען לא האמנתם בי להקדישני? Hashem said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not believe in me to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore you will not bring this congregation to the land that I have given them. So Hashem is telling us something that's hard to understand, maybe even more than the red cow. Moshe and Aaron that sacrificed their life, they're not getting payments. They're not getting a 1099 at the end of the year. They're not getting a bonus. They're not doing it for money. They're not doing it for kavod. As a matter of fact, Moshe didn't even want to do it. He didn't want to do it even in the beginning. But he still sacrificed his life, constantly fought for Am Yisrael, and even in Parashat Korach. In Parashat Korach, after Korach and Dathan and Aviram went against him with the 250 people, went against him, what did he do? He started begging them to do tshuva. The fact that they're insulting him in public, embarrassing him in public, he didn't care about that. He still begged them to do tshuva. They continued insulting him, accusing him of all types of horrendous crimes. Moses and Aaron are stealing all of our money. Moses is trying to steal our women. He's trying to steal everything. Even our women is saying, Hashem Yirachem, they're trying to accuse Moses, the righteous Moses, the greatest prophet that ever lived, of trying to steal their married women.
Yes.
That's how wicked these people were. And what does Moshe do? He begs them to do tshuva. Why? Because that's how much he loved Hashem. He knew if they're the children of Hashem, I have to do whatever I can to save them. You want to do Kiruv. This is also another hint of why this whole story is also connected to the red cow. Moshe and the rest of the tzaddikim, there's another name for them. Hashem calls them an animal. Why are the sages considered animal? Why are the prophets, the Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, the forefathers, actually better said, the forefathers considered like animals? Sounds bad. Says, no. It's not like a typical animal. It's like a cow that only does the will of its owner. Doesn't have an opinion. Says Moshe got the best possible compliment from Hashem that anyone could have ever get. He says, Moses, my servant. Now a servant has no opinion. If you tell somebody, listen, go get me my shoes, and they say, why? That's not a servant. If you tell them, listen, can you give me a ride? I need a ride to the airport. Oh, where are you going? That's not a servant. A servant has no opinion. And that was Moshe. Moshe had no opinion of his own. His opinion was whatever God wanted. So even despite the embarrassment that he had to go through, year after year, day after day with Am Yisrael, he still asked them to do tshuva. He still pleaded with them, still defended them time and time again. And now the same righteous Moses, instead of speaking to the rock, he hit the rock. And Hashem says, because of that, you're not going to enter the land. It seems a little bit harsh. So there's a few explanations. Rashi explains it as it really is. Hashem said, you didn't allow me to sanctify my name. That's why you're getting punished. We'll explain that shortly. Chazal explains it a little deeper explanation. Since Hashem knows the past, the present, and the future, He also knew what was going to happen in the future. Now He made a deal with Moshe, where because of Moshe's holiness, everything that Moshe ever touched had to be eternal. It would become eternal because of him, because of his kedusha. Hashem made Moshe into something very, very special. The only person that ever spoke to Hashem face to face, his face glowed, wasn't a regular person. The Torah that He gave him, eternal. The nation that he led, Am Yisrael, eternal. Moses' name, even the heretics know who he was. Just like Hashem promised. They're going to believe in me and they're going to believe in you. He promised Moshe that everyone's going to believe in him. Even the Christians or the Muslims that hate Jews still respect Moshe Rabbeinu. And they believe in him. Why? Because they say our Torah is real. They just believe they have a new section aside from that. And this is part of the promise that Hashem said, everyone will know who Moses is. Everyone will believe in him. But now if Moses would have come to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel, the first thing he would have done would be built the Bet HaMikdash. Moses. If he would have come into, they were only a few days away, or a few weeks away even. Either way, they would go into Eretz Yisrael. Moses, what did he want to do? He wanted to sanctify Hashem's name in the biggest way possible. What is it? To build the Bet HaMikdash. So he would build the Bet HaMikdash, and then, if you fast forward about 1,000 years, the nation of Israel sins with the horrific sins of idol worship. And the Satan comes to Hashem and he says, listen, according to your Torah, someone that's an idol worshiper must be killed. Your entire nation are idol worshippers. According to your Torah, you have to kill them. And this is exactly what happened. But Hashem says, no, I don't want to kill them. But at the same token, I can't not do what's written in the Torah. So he has to replace it with something. So Hashem said, there's only one thing that I can replace, that can go instead of my nation. That I can destroy instead of destroying my children. What is it? My house. I'll destroy my own house before I destroy my children. Just like any parent would ever do. Normal parents, they let their house burn before they let their kids get hurt. When a parent has a child, chas v'shalom, in a burning house, they're not worried about the house. Oh, I can't believe my $3 million house is being burnt. No parent with their right mind is thinking, I can't believe a $5 million house is being burnt when their kid's inside. What are they thinking about? They're thinking about their kid. Once the kid is out, maybe they're thinking about the $5 million house. Who knows? But the point is that when the kid's inside, they're thinking about that. Hashem, obviously, is the one that taught us this feeling. He's the one that put us in us. All of the feelings, all of the knowledge, everything we have are pieces of Hashem. Because we can't create as humans. We don't create anything. We innovate. We don't create. There's only one creator, and that's Hashem. Meaning anything that we have, He had to instill in us. So now, Hashem doesn't want to destroy the nation of Israel, so He says, I'll destroy my house instead. Now, if Moshe Rabbeinu, the prophet of prophets, would have built the Bet HaMikdash according to the deal that he had with Hashem, according to Hashem's pretty much signing his own deal, it would have meant that the Bet HaMikdash would have had to be internal. Which means that when the Satan would have come to Hashem and said, listen, you have to destroy the nation, Hashem wouldn't have anything to replace the nation with, which means He would have had to destroy the nation. So Hashem knew that if He lets Moshe Rabbeinu in, the nation won't survive. Because He knew that 1,000 years later, they're going to sin, and this is going to happen. So He says, I'd rather Moshe not come in, my favorite servant, not come in, and it look bad for everybody else that I didn't let him in, then me destroy them and no one is going to look at it because no one's going to exist. But are you looking for what I just said? You're probably not going to find it. Right?
No.
It's a few different sources put together. So that's the deeper meaning of why Hashem did not let Moshe in. But let's look at what Rashi said. Because what Rashi said is more applicable to us as far as day to day. verse says, "Vayomer Hashem el Moshe ve'el Aaron, Yan lo e'emante bi la'akdisheni." Hashem said to Moses and Aaron, because you do not believe in me, to sanctify me. So first says you did not believe in me, and because you didn't believe in me, you didn't sanctify me. So if you remember last year we had here, we talked about how having emunah is not a choice. It's an obligation. Having emunah is not something that's just nice to have. It's you must do everything in your power to build this emunah. Because Hashem is very, very harsh in some cases in the Torah due to a lack of emunah. Not because the emunah itself, the lack of emunah itself is a sin, not having emunah, but the outcome of not having emunah leads to sin. So here he's saying, you didn't believe in me because you didn't believe in me enough, not because Moshe Rabbeinu didn't believe. But the Ramban is explaining, it's not that Moshe and Aaron didn't believe. Obviously Moshe and Aaron believed in Hashem. Why, you're questioning Moshe and Aaron? No. It says, because you didn't lead the nation to believe in me, because you hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock. If you would have spoken to the rock and water would have come out, then everybody would have said, wow, this has to be a miracle from Hashem. He's the only one that can make something that doesn't hear, doesn't feel, doesn't see, doesn't speak. He can make it into water. He can make it into anything in the middle of the desert. He's the only one that creates something from nothing. But if because you hit it, it looks natural. Why does it look natural? Because it already happened before. 40 years ago, you hit the rock.
Yes, it worked.
And it worked last time. So they're thinking, yeah, so he just knows the rocks. It's Moses' wisdom. It's not Hashem's wisdom. It's Moses just knows which rock to hit. We just don't know which rock to hit. You're going to make it, they could use it as something natural. When people look at rain today, they don't think, wow, what a miracle. No one thinks, wow, what a miracle.
No.
Not one person in the world, I think,
Absolutely.
looks at rain and says, wow, what a miracle. But in reality, every time it rains, it's millions of miracles. Millions of miracles. Not one, not two, millions and millions, an infinite amount of miracles. To give you just a small understanding, first and foremost, the simple way. Do you know that when it rains all the way from 30, 40,000 feet above us, sometimes a little lower, but nonetheless it's very, very high, and water comes down, and it drops, and it's soft, little drop hits our hand. Rain doesn't hurt. At least not normal rain. It doesn't hurt. Drops all the, but if you drop a penny from 30,000 feet on someone, it's going through his body. It's going to cut him. But when it arrives all the way from 30,000 feet, very, very soft water. That's one. Two, if you take millions and millions of pennies, millions of them, and you drop them from a plane, and you follow them with a very high-tech camera, most likely what you're going to see is a bunch of the pennies, at some point they're going to run into each other. Because the wind is going to carry them this way, carry them that way, they're all going to move in different directions, which means they're going to collide. So if it could possibly happen that more than one penny drops in a similar spot. But when it rains, no two drops ever touch each other. Not all the way from there, all the way to the ground, they never touch each other. Why is this a big deal? Why is it such a miracle? Because there's obviously a lot more raindrops than there is pennies. Now, if 2 drops touched each other, they connect, it's water. Now, if 2 connected, that means that 3 can connect, and 4 can connect, and before you know it, by the time it goes down 30,000 feet, it's a puddle. Now, if a puddle fell on an average person, he'd instantly die. Which means that every single time it would rain, especially as much as it rains where I live in Boca Raton, it rains almost every single day. When I first moved here 2 years ago, and it was raining literally every day for 2 weeks, I thought Hashem brought the flood. I started telling my wife, I'm like, oh wow, I guess Mashiach is coming sooner than I thought. It literally rains every day in certain parts of the year. But if it rained every day, or even rained once a week, and the drops connected, somebody would have to die every single time. At least 1 or 2 people would die. This is a miracle. The third thing is that rain is completely pure. It's not like anything else. And last but not least, one thing we mentioned in the Torah and Science lecture we did in Aventura is that most of the rain that actually feeds the world, the one that nourishes our plants and our trees, the one that we really live off of, is not like what scientists used to think. Scientists used to think that most of the water most of the drinking water we have, most of the water that feeds the plants, the trees, and everything else comes from the ocean. Because 72% of the globe of Earth is ocean, is water. So they figured that it all goes through evaporation. It gets purified, the salt stays here, the water goes up, it comes down, nourishes the planet. Logical. Now, even though that process is true, it does happen, but that's not where the main water of the world comes from. The main water that's in this world, that comes to this world, that nourishes the world, that nourishes our life, comes from outer space. From comets. Comets are giant rocks that are made of ice, that the closer and closer they get to the Earth, they melt, they go through our atmosphere. By the time they go through our atmosphere, they completely become vaporized or water, and that's what actually nourishes our planet. Again, this is actually written in Parashat Bereshit, in the beginning of the Torah, where it says that Hashem divided or separated the heaven above the water from the heaven below the water. All of this is written in the Torah. See? And Vayomer Elohim, this is chapter 1, verse 6. ויאמר אלוהים יהי רקיע בתוך המים ויהי מבדיל בין מים למים ויעש אלוהים את הרקיע ויבדל בין המים אשר מתחת לרקיע ובין המים אשר מעל לרקיע ויהי כן ויקרא אלוהים לרקיע שמיים ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר יום שני. This is the second day. God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters and let it separate between water and water. So obviously there's 2 sets of water. There's water below, there's water above. So God made the firmament, meaning the sky, and separated between the water which were beneath the firmament and the water which were above the firmament. And it was so. And he called the firmament heaven. And there was evening and there was morning, a second day. This is, in my opinion, the best possible proof that the Torah has to be divine. Because only in recent generation, not even generations, the recent generation now, did we discover that there's any water from outer space. And not only that there's water from outer space, but the sages explain in the Gemara on this specific verse, they say that not only did Hashem separate the water from here to outer space, but the water from outer space is really the real water that nourishes the planet. And for many, many centuries, the Goyim would make fun of us. They're like, where is this water? I don't see any water. We don't see any water. Where is this water? Where is this illusion you have here? You have a mistake in your Torah. Took them thousands of years to finally catch up to the 6th verse in the Torah that only a divine being could have written. No human could have written that, because no human was able to see outer space until 400 years ago, when Galileo Galilei came out with the telescope. And even then it wasn't exactly a high-end telescope in comparison to a toy today. So here you have Hashem being very upset that what ended up happening looks natural. It doesn't look like a miracle because it happened before. Because rain happened, it happened before, we don't think it's a miracle. If somebody goes into a coma, as Rav Mizrahi says, someone goes into a coma for 50 years. Now before he went into a coma, all he saw was regular rain. Now during those 50 years, something happened, and rain all of a sudden became blue. Blue. Now in the beginning, the first day, blue rain comes down. Everybody's scared. No one wants to go outside. After a week or two, it rains blue. 1, 2 people go outside. After a month, more people. After a year, it rains blue. It becomes normal. Now the guy that comes out of a coma after 50 years, he sees that everybody's walking around in blue rain, no problem. He thinks this is a miracle. No one's acknowledging it. They don't think it's a miracle because they're used to it. So Hashem says, because Am Yisrael saw you hit the rock 40 years ago, they're going to think it's a mikre. They're going to think it's just natural.
But that's human being.
Right, but that's exactly what Hashem said. I want you to speak to the rock. Bring the staff to show them that you can hit the rock, but you're not going to hit the rock. You're going to make them think, oh, he's going to hit the rock. This is the same thing that happened 40 years ago that our parents told us. No. Here you're going to show them, I'm going to speak to the rock, and because of the will of Hashem, water is going to come out. And that's not natural. That's superhuman. That's super ability. That's miracle. Only Hashem can do something like that. And that, by showing them a miracle, that will sanctify my name. So because you didn't lead them to believe in me, because you made it look like it's natural, what ended up happening? My name wasn't sanctified.
Absolutely.
And because my name wasn't sanctified, you will not enter the land. So here we learn something very, very, very important. This is a 4-step process of what Hashem is telling us here. What happens when we don't have emunah?
We tend to think that everything is normal.
When someone doesn't have emunah, someone has no emunah, obviously they're not gonna. What happened here? Because of no emunah, because Am Yisrael didn't believe in Hashem like they're supposed to, they started complaining. Instead of just praying to Hashem, help us, they started thinking, maybe Hashem brought us here to kill us, maybe Moses made a mistake, maybe he picked the wrong leader. Lack of emunah. When there's no emunah, there's no way to have Kiddush Hashem. There's no way to sanctify Hashem's name. And sanctifying Hashem's name is the purpose of life. Now, why did all of this happen? What happened after? What led to a point of Moses and Aaron? If only because it says it in the Torah, am I even allowed to say it, that they did not fulfill the will of Hashem? What happened? Anger. Moses lost his patience because the people were picking on him. Where's the rock? Where's the rock? Where's the rock? Where's the rock? So now let's put all the pieces together. The people of the nation of Israel did not have emunah. Because they had no emunah, they caused Moshe Rabbeinu, the prophet of prophets, to get angry. Because why is he angry? He's not angry for himself. He's angry that they're going against God. Because when Korach and all of his people went against Moshe, he didn't care. He didn't say, what did he do? He begged Hashem, don't punish them. Only one guy made a sin, not everybody. Don't punish everyone. Amen. Don't punish everyone. Only one person made a sin. Let me help them do tshuva. He didn't care about his own kavod. When Am Yisrael complained the first time about food, complained about water, what did Moshe Rabbeinu respond to Am Yisrael? Ve'anachnu ma? What are we? We're nothing. You're not complaining to us, you're complaining on Hashem. We are nothing. He repeats it twice. Me and Aaron are nothing. So he's not angry because they're picking at him. He's angry because you're still there after 40 years of miracles every day. To have a question in your emunah? So the nation of Israel has no emunah, and the leader, the prophet of prophets get angry. Because he gets angry, he misses an opportunity to do Kiddush Hashem. When he misses Kiddush Hashem is the purpose of life. When he misses the opportunity to do Kiddush Hashem, the mekatregim, the couple of sins that he made in his life, trust me, it's probably only a couple, if at all. For us, doing what he did, we didn't make any sins. But those couple of mekatregim, and then the bunch of other prosecutors against the nation of Israel, the bad angels go to Hashem and say, listen, 40 years ago, Moshe and Aaron went to Mount Sinai, and Aaron technically was involved in the idol worship. Aaron technically, through the gold, was involved in the whole building of the golden calf. This is a problem. You never punished them for it. Two weeks ago, Parashat, which is about 40 years ago in biblical times, Moshe didn't exactly get the message that Hashem said it's a land of milk and honey. And he said, listen, if you want to send spies to the land, go ahead, go. And he sent spies to the land. Those spies came back with a bad report. You had to punish the entire nation for 40 years. Which, by the way, for us, these things would not be even a sin. But for Moshe and Aaron, these things are sins. So Hashem never punished them for it. Hashem never punished Aaron for the golden calf. Hashem never punished Moshe for sending the spies. But now, these couple of sins they made in their life, which is only in their level, they show up to Hashem. They said, look, you never punished them for it. Now, they missed on an opportunity. You only never punished them for it because they sanctified your name. But now they didn't sanctify your name. They missed an opportunity. So now you have to punish them for it. So what happens? Because of that, there's a review. When someone misses an opportunity to sanctify Hashem's name, they start reviewing the bill. They start reviewing your bill. Oh, let's see, wait a minute. Until now, we were just sending the waiter, giving you stuff because you keep doing Kiruv. You keep doing sanctifying Hashem's name. You keep doing good things. When we're just giving you, we're sending the waiter without asking you what you want. We're just sending new dishes every 2 minutes. It's like the guy that went to fat guy went to a restaurant. And the waiter comes to him, he says, listen, we have eggs, we have chicken, we have a steak, we have soup, we have duck, we have this, we have that. And the fat guy says, yeah, you know what, I don't care which order. And he says, what do you want? He says, no, I don't care which order you give it, just bring it all. But this is actually what happens in life. Hashem keeps sending us, But now we missed an opportunity to sanctify his name. Starts looking at the bill. What happens when you start looking at the bill? You have to start paying the bill. And why? Because one of the major missed opportunities here is the missed opportunity to help Am Yisrael do tshuva. If Am Yisrael would have seen clearly that this is the will of Hashem, would have seen clearly that Hashem is decreeing that water can come out of everything, Hashem is decreeing that He'll protect them at all times, would have strengthened their faith, at least momentarily, but it would have strengthened their faith. The fact that there's a missed opportunity here makes it a very, very bad situation. So to sum it all up, because Am Yisrael had no emunah, or lack of emunah, a shortage of emunah, it led their craziness, their panic, their balagan in their head, and their stress caused Moshe to get very upset because they're going against his father. They're going against Hashem. So what happens? He gets angry. Because he gets angry, as the Ramban says in Igeret Rambam, the letter to his son, when someone gets angry, all types of Gehenom control him, meaning one sin leads to another. Start making mistakes. You only make mistakes when you're not thinking straight. So the greatest prophet of all time makes a mistake. Little mistake, thinks we do something we do each day 10 times. He makes it momentarily. Why? Because they can't control their stress. Because they have no emunah. They don't have emunah, he gets angry. He gets angry, he misses an opportunity to sanctify Hashem's name. He misses an opportunity to sanctify Hashem's name. The Mekatragim look at the sins of the entire nation, including Moshe and Aaron this time. They see there's a couple of sins in the level of Moshe and Aaron that Hashem didn't punish them for. Hashem says, this was a missed opportunity to do Kiruv. This is a missed opportunity not only to sanctify my name. That maybe we could do another time. But you missed an opportunity to help Am Yisrael do tshuva. And to miss an opportunity to help Am Yisrael do tshuva, there has to be a price. And this is one of the things that I try to embellish on, and tried to do it yesterday, is to help Am Yisrael do tshuva, to help people do tshuva. It's not about whether you like it or not. It has nothing to do with whether you like it or not. It has to do whether you love Hashem or not. Everyone keeps talking about loving Hashem, love of Hashem, tshuva because of love of Hashem, yet very, very few even understand the smallest concept of what loving Hashem really means. First and foremost, the love of Hashem according to the sages is only, the beginning of loving Hashem is only after you've reached the highest level of fearing Hashem. Meaning, the basic level of fearing Hashem is fearing punishment. The highest level of fearing Hashem is fearing a disconnect or hurting the relationship. Once you've gotten to the point of that type of fear, fearing of hurting the relationship, not just fearing punishment, but fearing hurting a relationship, then you only start understanding what loving Hashem means. And that's just the beginning of loving Hashem. So when everyone keeps teaching, no, you should love Hashem, you should love Hashem, you should love Hashem. Yeah, first know what is fearing Hashem. And how can you prove that no one has a clue about loving Hashem? How can anyone sleep for a minute, go on a vacation, go have a barbecue with the family, completely relaxed on the beach, while they know that millions of Hashem's children are on a road to eternal suffering if they don't do tshuva. How can you say you love this father and not help his children? Huh? And that's the thing. Doing Kiruv, it's not about whether you like it or not. It's whether you love Hashem or not. If you love Hashem, of course you're going to save His children. You're going to do everything you can to save His children. Okay, I have money, I'm going to support. I don't have any money, I have internet. I'll go publicize some things on the internet. I'll send some links to a few people, make sure they watch some shiurim. I'll join a few Jewish groups on the internet and put some shiurim over there that I know moved me. Okay, I don't have money for the internet. Okay, but I have a few friends. I'll get a few friends together and organize a shiur like we've been doing here for the last year and a half. Maybe, I don't know, I'm going to have 10 people show up. Maybe 2 do tshuva. Maybe 5 do tshuva. Maybe everybody does tshuva. Maybe it's going to grow to 100 people. We get paid for the effort. The outcome is in the hands of Hashem. But the effort, the reason why we get paid for the effort is because that's the only way we can show Hashem we love Him. And that's what we learned from this specific story here. Kiruv is not just something Hashem likes. It's what Hashem requires from us as a minimum example of whether we love Him or not. If someone wants to even think loving Hashem, there's no way that they could rest for a minute without knowing that I spent some time today trying to help one of Hashem's children. Because how could I say I love him, but I know that this one over here is his son over here is destined to doom, if I don't tell him that Shabbat is the most important foundation of Judaism. The other one is about to marry a non-Jew. The other one is wasting seed every 5 minutes. The other one eats at McDonald's every day. How could I not tell them anything, knowing that they're the children of Hashem? I'm not going to tell them something? In the old days, even if you saw your neighbor's kid doing something bad, the old times, the neighbors would hit him already. Say, how could you do this? They'd take him back to his mommy. Look, your son was playing with fire. I slapped him a couple of times. And what did the mom say? Thank you very much. Today, you slap somebody's kid, they take you to jail. Today, even if the parent slaps the kid, they take him to jail. Nobody's allowed to hit kids anymore. Why? Because we're a politically correct world that everyone fears any rebuke. But according to the Torah, it's a mitzvah to rebuke. I'm not saying go start hitting strange people, but obviously we have to do whatever we can to save Hashem's children if we want to even have an opportunity to tell Hashem, I love you, and Him say, I know. I know. To say I love you doesn't mean nothing. A lot of people say I love you, and 2 minutes later they slap the wife. 2 minutes later they cheat on the wife. What is the wife going to say? Do me a favor, don't love me, just don't cheat on me. Don't love me, just don't touch me. But if you say I love you, and the spouse says I know, or they say I love you too, and you know that both sides mean it, that's something special. With Hashem, we have a way to do it. Obviously, we have to fulfill the mitzvot ourselves. But 2, we have to show Him that not only do we care about Him, a way that we care about Him is by caring for His children. And that's one of the most important things that we can learn here. That it's an obligation for us to have emunah, because without emunah, we can lose everything. Get angry, get impatient, lose opportunities to sanctify Hashem's name, lose opportunities to connect to Hashem, lose opportunities to do tshuva, lose opportunities to help other people do tshuva. This little thing called emunah, is really, really something big. And the way to build it is by looking for Hashem everywhere. Everything that happens in your life, look for Hashem. Why did Hashem do this? Oh, look at what He did here. Look at the miracle that happened to me here. Look, I got a job today. Look, I got a contract today. Hashem is so kind with me. Constantly do it. And one thing I could tell you, and then we'll finish,
So that could be applied to business too.
Sure, it could apply to everything.
Yeah.
Everything that happens. You get a new customer, oh, thank you Hashem. You wake up in the morning, thank you Hashem. You have lunch, you like the taste of your meal. Thank you Hashem. Look what Hashem did me a favor. Not only did He give me food, but He gave me food that I like. Hashem didn't say He could have made everything blend. He could have made everything one taste. But He gave different flavors. And He gave you a flavor that you actually happen to like for lunch. That's beautiful. Everything you connect to Hashem. Everything you connect to Hashem. Look, Hashem, I read this verse 500 times. This is the first time I actually understood this meaning. Look, Hashem opened up my brain, and I finally understood what this verse means. Look at the mercy of Hashem. Look at the love of Hashem. So you connect everything to Hashem. And one thing that I do, Baruch Hashem, for almost a little over a year now, this Avrech that I learned with once told me this, and I think it's a brilliant idea, is that it's very, very easy for us to forget to thank Hashem. Very easy for us to ask Hashem for stuff. But very, very easy to forget to thank Him. So one thing I do is on my phone is I have an alarm. And I make an alarm every day except Shabbat at 12:30. A reminder to thank Hashem. Don't ask for anything. Because all day you ask for stuff. Hashem, help me with this, help me with this, help me with this, help this person. All day we're asking. I say at 12:30. For me it's 12:30. You can do any time you want. 12:30 in the afternoon, I have an alarm that says time to thank Hashem. Take 20 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes, however long you want. But just a moment without the phone, without the iPad, without the friends, without food, without anything. Just stop for a second and think, what do I have to thank Hashem for? And trust me, when you start thinking about it, you can go for hours. Because Hashem gives us so much. So this is, I think, the foundation that we could take from this parasha this week. And there's a lot to learn, obviously a lot more than this, but nonetheless I think this is enough that we could apply even 10% of all of this. It could change a lot of lives. Any questions?
No, for now.
Okay. As soon as I turn off the camera, I know. Baruch Adonai Leolam, Amen ve'Amen.